the Coalition. Thank you so much for speaking to me. I loved your depiction of the pastor. What I
Okay.
wanted to know is he has a different approach towards money and religion than say everyone else does. What I wanted to know with is there a specific message that he believes in that guides him towards his pastoral kind of belief of the acceptance of money and gifts?
I only did one episode, so that's a kind of deep question. I believe that he's a cut between the old school pastors and some of these new school pastors that, the emphasis on building the church and helping the community and doing outreach programs, which take a lot of money. And he's just very clear and over the top about how he does it. I don't know if
Right.
he has a rhyme or reason to it. He's just, hey, there's nothing wrong with having money. He says that. He said, money is not the root of all evil. It's how we use it, you know. So, that's his philosophy, I believe. But like I said to the last interviewer, when you do a TV series, and if you occur or you're a regular cast member, like say I did one episode that's airing June 20th on BMF episode 3. If I were to come back, say for season 4 and 5, we will see this character develop even more and make different choices. So that's why you kind of start a character kind of like in the gray area, so you have some room to move him around and help him develop. So it's not like seeing a movie, a one-off is a movie where you just see that character and that's just it. We never see him go through trial and tribulations, or we never see him grow or arc, as we call it in acting or in entertainment, building the arc of the character. So this is just one slice of Pastor Coleman, and I'm sure if this character catches on and they see fit to bring me back, and I would love to come back, then we'll see him develop over, the next 4 or 5 seasons.
So with that being said, do you do any kind of background work or writing or any kind of character work when it comes to just one episode of a show?
Well, because it's only one episode, and I have a slice of Pastor Coleman, it's not a lot of research to do, other than talking to the writers and because basically what I did was had a talk with the mom, and but then I just did a sermon and talked about money and stuff. It's not like we saw him in his study. It's not like we saw him at home. We didn't see him go shopping with his family. We don't know if he has a family. So all of that stuff is to be created. So one episode, you kind of take a slice of Pastor Coleman, and then if it continues, we start to see all the other colors. So it's not a lot of research for me to have done so far, other than just do what was on the page. Does that make any sense?
So yes and no, it makes perfect sense. So then within that, with the delivery of the sermon, I was wondering what was the direction that was given or that you gave yourself in that scene?
Well, when you're an actor, you come on, you're for hire. So you don't just come on and do what you want to do.
Right.
I think I've been in the game long enough that they brought me in because they trust my work. They see the range of my work. And so I collaborate. A lot of times when I come on the show, they're like, well, you're Clifton Powell. I don't know if we can give you any direction. And I'm like, I'm from the theater, so I love direction. But a lot of times with a character like this, we'll talk about it. They'll tell me what they see. I say what I see in terms of what's on the page. And then I did a couple of dry runs, and they were like, "Man, we really like what you're doing. We're not going to tamper with that, and just take him out and have fun and have craziness with him." And that's what we did. Because so it's kind of sometimes it's a collaboration, and some producers are like, "You're going to do it just like this, and this is how we want it done." So it was really fun working with the writers and the producers because they let me have some room to kind of improv and play around.
Ooh, wonderful. Was there, in terms of the improv and playing around, was there things that you swapped in or took out?
Well, it's not so much swapped in, but
Mhm.
kind of like embellish on a little bit. Like,
Right.
if I was throwing the money, maybe I threw the money from the pulpit, I might throw the money, run down from the pulpit and run up the aisle and then run back and throw some more money. They kind of give you the room to kind of have fun and do that.
Right. What made you say yes to BMF and as well as Clifton?
Well, it's a good show, and I know 50, Meech and Da Vinci, I know, Russell, and so it's just when they call, of course they call my agent, and it's a great show to be a part of.
Wonderful. And then also with that, I was wondering, you talked about you have the background in theater. Do you use that approach all the time when it comes to movies and TV, especially with
Well,
this?
I'm trained. I come out of the theater, but I'm trained in the Stanislavski system, which we know as method acting.
Mhm.
So it's just part of my training of the characters that I morph in and out of, because of my training, my voice training, my internal acting training, being trained in that genre of acting, called the Stanislavski system, which we refer to as method acting. De Niro, Pacino, Denzel Washington, Angela Bassett, Al Pacino, De Niro, Meryl Streep, Viola Davis. We all kind of train the same way.
Was there a particular moment that allowed you to lock into that method when it came to this character?
No, I read the script and I knew it was going to be challenging. The challenging part was just, sustaining the preaching. And preachers are difficult, and I think I did it maybe five or six, seven, eight times over the course of a few hours. And it becomes draining, but it was fun. This guy's over the top. I've never really played a pastor this quite over the top. So it was physically challenging in the sense that I preached one time kind of, I just took it all the way out and my head was pounding. I had to sit down and kind of collect myself, but it was fun. So I told somebody, I said, I can't imagine being a real pastor and having to preach the 8 o'clock service, then the 11 o'clock service, and then there's a 1 o'clock service. By 4 o'clock, you're exhausted if you know how to preach. So
So was there any techniques that you had to kind of maintain that energy and voice as well?
I stretch, I pray, and I meditate. And
Of
I
course.
try to keep myself in good shape. You got to be in shape to be an entertainer. You got to stay
Right.
healthy and you got to take care of yourself. But with a character like this, I get up in the morning, I do vocal exercises. I stretch, and I do more vocal exercises because if your voice is not warmed up by the second run of this, you're like this, and your voice will start give way. So you open your throat up. That's all a part of my speech training.
So that I wanted to talk about. Was he originally not say aloud, but very bodacious when you first got him onto the page, or was that just through conversation and evolution?
No, I think the way it's written, I didn't write it, so the writers wrote him big,
Mhm.
and the actor's job is really to take what's on the page and bring it to life. So it's not like I came in and said I'm gonna play him like this or I'm gonna play him like this. It's already written for him to be kind of big and over the top, and I just embellished on that and made him even bigger and more ridiculous and crazy.
Understood. Is there a particular, I wanted to know is, would you, if talking about the future, if you have the ability to come back, what would you like to see with that character?
Well, I think if they call me and say, let's come back for season four, I would probably sit down with the producers and the writers and get their vision first. Because I think as an actor, it's not me. I'm not executive producer of the show. I don't own the show. So I'm for hire. So I come in and I like, because I come out of the theater and we collaborate, I would come in and maybe let's say it came back in September, and it's June, I would meet with them and, talk maybe via Zoom or phone call, and they tell me how they see it, the growth, and I may get have some input if they give you some input to help the character develop on some other areas. But that's all part of their job as a producer. I don't have to, if I was Denzel, maybe they say, well, Denzel, you're Denzel Washington. You just do it any way you want to. It never happens that way. It's unless Denzel is the executive producer. These are writers and producers and executive producers, of course, 50 Cent. So you always want to come in and stay open-minded. I put my ego in my work. So I come in, I'm open-minded. I listen to my producers. I may be able to chime in every now and then we shape that character.
I was wondering also kind of the look of the pastor, very standard, but was there any kind of little touches, even if we didn't know as an audience, that you
Well,
added?
no, I think when you do a show like this, you get wardrobe, you do different changes, and they send the pictures to the producers, and they go, "Oh, we're gonna go with the red, or we're gonna go with the blue, or we're gonna go with the red fuchsia, or we're gonna go with the orange." Those are all their choices. So when you see me in the light blue with the tie and all that, that's the producers run the show, and they know the vision that they want. And my job is to come in and give them their vision.
What has always been kind of your best approach to acting?
Uh, Say that again.
Is it the best approach that you felt to acting within your field?
The approach that I take, or just in
Yes,
general?
that you take.
Again, the way I'm trained, and if you know anything about the Stanislavski system, you build the internal mind of the character first, and then you put the physical on. So what I do is I read a script, I find out what a character is mentally, I find out if it's a spiritual character, where he is spiritually. It's not a lot of backstory on this pastor. So, I do what's on the page, but I also know beginning, middle, and end where they want the character to go. Is there any room for me to embellish on him? Do you want me to bring him up, bring him down? So a lot of times it's me, but it's also a collaboration of what the producers want, because it's not the quite frankly, it's not the Clifton Powell show. It's called BMF, and it's executive producers, and then it's the lead actors who have a part in some of them also, especially Meech, because this is about his family. So I come in and I get that from being in the theater. So my approach doing this from the Stanislavski perspective is I build the internal mind of the character. So I want to find out who he is, where he's from, and all those things, and then I do what's on the page.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for speaking to me.
You're welcome. Good to talk to you.